at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's noon Pacific for about an hour or 90 minutes. We come to you live on YouTube and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We're watching the live chats over on Gun Channels and on YouTube. When it's all over, we let it render into a video. We take the audio from that, turn it into a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. So we encourage anybody that might be listening to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback every day on the show. It gives us some information about who's out there and where you're listening, but it also gets the show to be recommended to more listeners. So we do appreciate that favor. There's 4 hosts. 3 of us are here today. We have no idea where Bob is. So we got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
And then we got Z jumping in from Hawaii.
Aloha.
There he is. And then I'm in from Arizona. So let's see. Today we are starting off episode 237. We'll be talking about Second Amendment issues today, our good idea, bad idea segment today, and then we have our Q&A. So we have a couple of questions that have come in. If you have any specific questions for us, then feel free to send them in either our email, which is dailygunshow@gmail.com, or in the comments on either YouTube or Gun Channels right now. So before we dig into the actual topics, though, we always like to take a break, see if anything happened overnight, anything worth talking about.
Just a reminder, Trump is letting us know who his nominee is for the Supreme Court today. And Matt had a pretty dang good chat yesterday that lasted almost 3 hours. And it was about post-apocalyptic top 5, as well as other subjects.
Yeah, I don't think he gave enough time to such a good genre of movies, but and I don't think top 5 was enough.
Yeah, I didn't really understand why we were going to short that one. But in the end, the most popular did seem to come through with a slight misunderstanding of some of the other choices.
And then what's he going to do next week?
It's I think it's top 10 animated.
Animated or anime?
Well, technically an anime is an animated movie.
All right, so I'm saying it was an anime, because then I'm not even going to participate. If it's animated, then that's different.
Well, here's the thing. My top 10 list is definitely going to have some anime on it.
Well,
actually, probably most is going to be anime.
That's your issue then. So is this top 10 or did he make it a tiny little top 5 again?
I thought it was top 10.
Okay, good.
And you can hate all you want, dude.
What?
I said you can hate all you want.
I don't have a problem with it. I just don't bother with it. I don't understand it, so I don't watch it that much.
Okay.
But there's plenty of animation that's good.
Again, whatever. We'll hash this out next Monday.
Yeah, I guess we will. So then,
I certainly don't get it. So you're not the only one.
What, anime?
There's lots of people that like it.
Yeah. So that was yesterday. Anything else happen overnight? We don't. I think I've seen Bob in the chat, but just a thing or two. And seen
Let's see. For those that may not have heard, Trump did sign the executive order on the 2-for-1 regulations act. Or it's not a formal act, but reduction.
Did or did not?
Did.
He
so
fired
every time somebody wants something new, they got to remove 2 old things.
They have to have 2 that they're going to remove for every one they want to add.
Good.
He did fire the acting attorney general.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He had to, he had to. I mean, she was insubordinate.
I agree in that he should have. I don't know that he necessarily had to. but I agree with his decision to do so.
Well, if somebody's insubordinate, imagine a major corporation. In the United States, unfortunately, is the largest corporation on the face of the earth. And that's an example to the rest of your hundreds of thousands of employees.
Dano, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Corporations have whole divisions of lawyers. And what the corporation asks usually of the lawyers is to make sure that whatever they're doing is legal. So therefore, if your division of lawyers tells you that your decision may not necessarily be legal, it's not necessarily that they're being insubordinate. It's that they're telling you that your stuff might not be the way it's supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying that she wasn't insubordinate. I'm saying that sometimes when the lawyer tells you different, just because you want it the other way doesn't necessarily mean that you are still correct.
Right. But it was one lawyer that was also a political appointee to that position. It was not a fleet of lawyers giving an objective opinion.
It was the top. It was the one person that was responsible for the entire attorney general place.
Well, you just brought up an example of a group of lawyers, and then now we're talking about an individual lawyer giving an individual opinion that represents the top of that department.
Well, it technically represents the whole entire department. Because they are the top.
That doesn't make her any more right. I mean, if she does not consult her employees, then it's just her opinion individually.
Well, how do we know she didn't consult her employees?
Because she didn't reference consulting anyone in regards to giving her opinion better support.
Actually, she didn't even give her opinion. She just said she wasn't. She said she's not going to defend the position.
Right. She individually is telling people. She didn't say, I've consulted with my subdirectors, and we have concluded. No, nothing like that was said or directed or inferred, meaning it was all totally her alone.
I think that's one man's opinion.
Yep. And I would hold up the mirror and say, take a look at that one man's opinion.
I don't look nothing like that guy.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying. And again, I stand by the fact that I don't think that it was bad that he fired her. I think she should have either towed the line or come across as this is why this is illegal or something. This is why we can't do that. If she would have defended her position slightly better than just said no, then right. I think things would have been different.
Like any other secretary, they can voice their opinion. That's fine. But you do not have the option of saying no to the president once policy has been determined.
Actually, the lawyer does have that because it's law, and sometimes the president may be giving you an unlawful order. So this is one of the exceptions to that. I'm not saying in this particular case. I'm just saying as a general rule.
If there's a gray area there, it's certainly one for the court to decide, not for an individual attorney to decide.
Well, if the attorney's saying that they're not going to defend it in court, then it's kind of hard to do that.
Well, I look at it like they're coaches, right? There's the rules of the game, and then there's the sport, and then there's the coaches that tell players what to do. And if your coaches are like, oh, this is a strategy that we can't get behind because we don't think that it falls into the rules of the game, that's not like it's been challenged and you're asking them to do something that's wrong. It's that they just perceive the strategy as something that they don't want to get behind, and it's their job to figure out how to make it happen in a legal method. And if they're not willing to even put forth the effort, then, they're just going to sit there and say defiantly, no, I don't like the way you want me to push this. Then what the fuck good are they? Their job is to be a resource for this guy, right? And if she's just a remnant from the old staff that he didn't just fire when he came in, he kept her on board, and now she's going to be a belligerent, and get rid of her and bring somebody in that's on your side.
Well, and I will agree with you in the fact that she knew that her job was up no matter what when Sessions gets approved. So she knew that she had limited amount of days left, like no matter what. So
Well,
to
she would have
that,
gone down to her previous position.
what's that?
She would have gone back down. She would have
Yes.
gone back to her previous position. I mean,
But I guess
everybody
what I'm saying
knows
is she
if
knew
they're
that she only
temporary
had so
fill-in,
many days to
they'll
throw a
throw the
monkey wrench
temporary.
into stuff.
All right. Well, I feel like it's
And
Hillary
she
screwing
opted
up
to
our
throw
show
the
right now. I feel like Hillary is screwing up our show right now. So,
Oh,
That's
there's
the
other
beginning.
news about her too, but we ain't getting into that.
I'm gonna suggest let's get into the show, eh?
Yeah, eh? You
Yeah.
betcha. Don't you know?
So, gather up a thing of back bacon and some maple syrup and some French fries. What do they put? Gravy on it or something, and then we'll talk about Second Amendment issues. So today we're talking about the Hearing Protection Act and updates on it. So we have
I also
people-
added another link.
this big long one here.
Yes.
So see,
But we'll cover the Hearing Protection Act first.
yeah, okay, this is something totally different. Yeah, so the Hearing Protection Act, we had a couple people as the show was getting warmed up over on the Gun Channel side. Thanks to, how was it? Matt for dropping some links. So we do have links, and I'll drop them again in case somebody doesn't have them in their feed or whatever. If I get my mouse to keep up with me here, and we'll drop these on both the Gun Channels and the YouTube side. So anybody that wants to check out where the act for the Hearing Protection Act is right now in Congress, and it's basically in committee. So that's the long story short. The update is that it was initially put forth, I think, in 2015, and then October of 15, and then whoever it was that sponsored it or whatever didn't get reelected, so they had to re-sponsor it, and they did that. Looks like on the 20th, and now it's or on the 9th, and it just went up and sits in committee. So I have no idea how long the procedure is on this kind of stuff. Maybe there's somebody out there that does pay more attention to that to knows, but I don't know if we have much more to talk about than that, aside from maybe what kind of coverage have you seen on this? I know I've seen quite a bit on the petition on whitehouse.gov to remove the NFA. People are all about that one at the moment on the Instagram at least. But you guys, I know Z, you pay more attention to the Facebook than I do. Has there been much buzz about the Hearing Protection Act?
Yes. I think it's also inspired several other things, or at least made people become aware of other things. For example, I know that because of this Hearing Protection Act starting to make a little bit of, I don't know that it is making headway. It seems like it is, but when it's not made it out of committee yet, you can't really, other than it's been reintroduced, you don't really know if it has traction or wheels or whatever you want to call it. But I will say, like I mentioned the other day, somebody in Hawaii tried to mention to be able to do it for hunting. So that blew my mind when I saw that. Mind blown. Now, again, that's something that's barely, it might not even been voted to go to committee for the state of Hawaii or anything like that. But just the fact that the words were even uttered was kind of cool.
Well, I think one of the things we can do to keep moving forward so that we're not just, talking about these things occasionally, so we can actually do something is set some of these things down on Every Second Matters on the place over there where we can start keeping track of these things in like a forum type format so that people can post updates and things, and then start to accumulate, I guess, the various acts. I was looking around for the the Sporting Use to Lawful Use Act and that, and there are a couple of others up there. And then some of the other initiatives like repeal the NFA and remove the Hughes Amendment or whatever. So we'll see what we can get accomplished here this second, and then be in the second of the year. We'll have just a few of these, less than 12 really, for the end of this year, and then less than 20 before whatever legislation should have already been in the works.
Yeah.
So we put out a call yesterday to have people a bit of a challenge yesterday during the Gun Channels University segment of the show for people that are creating content that want to contribute, and didn't hear much back. So same thing here. There's only so much we can do. We can talk about getting things going, or people can put some time aside to work on these things. So what we've got available to us is that Every Second Matters platform, and if anybody wants to jump on board, this will be the time. The next couple of 20 months here will be the time to do it. So I don't know what else we can talk about with the Hearing Protection Act as far as updates on it. Do you guys have any other updates or things that you've seen as far as chatter about it?
Again, like you mentioned about Facebook, there's definitely been more posts about it. Some of them were urging you to contact, your senator or congressman. So it seems like there's some popular, how do you say that? In the public mindset, there seems to be a growing approval rating for it. Whether anybody is out there actually trying to either promote it promote it, I definitely see some of that. Whether they're actually contacting the legislature or not, that I don't particularly know.
Well, that'll move us into that link that you put in there, which was from Gun Owners of America, and I'm sure Gun Owners of America or Firearms Policy or one of the other groups at the national level that have the working resources online that allow people to send information to their representatives. A lot of times they use systems that can give you like a boilerplate message. You personalize it with your contact information, and then it helps you sometimes even distribute it to all the different representatives that are applicable for you, depending on where you live. So that's what you have a link to here. Is one for kind of a pre-written article or a pre-written letter that you would send to your representatives.
This one's going directly to President Trump.
Huh?
And it's a request basically to reinstate and or respect the Second Amendment. So it bypasses all the other ones, and it's one of those ones where it's supposed to go to his email to basically remind him maybe of some of his promises and or what the people are expecting of him.
Well, it looks like it's a call to action, specifically in the middle, or I guess towards the end of the article or the whatever email here, the message to him. GOA is optimistic that this is only the first in a series of actions overturning illegal Obama actions. We are also asking Trump for administrative action, and then there's this list: remove all the U.S. from the anti-gun UN arms trade, repeal bullet and gun import bans from Obama back to George Bush, semi-auto import ban. Another one is repealing the suspension of health privacy laws with respect to gun owners, repealing executive actions encouraging doctors to inquire about gun ownership. Next one is restoring gun owners' rights to 250,000 law-abiding veterans. And then the last one is repealing Obama's efforts to strip Social Security recipients from their guns merely because guardians possess their checks, or process their checks. So this is a call to basically, what would you say, like administrative hassle as opposed to like pure infringement, except for maybe the import bans.
I'm not sure what you mean by hassle, but it's asking very simply to get back what Obama has taken, in addition to replacing some of the other things that have been taken over the various decades.
Not one of these things infringes on any specific person, though, is what I'm saying. Like, they are setups to infringe on people, and they're like bureaucratic hassles, I guess, or something. But health privacy laws with respect to gun owners, I guess that's a necessary relinquishment of bureaucratic power, but it's not the NFA. It's not the Hearing Protection Act or something.
No, but where that one comes from is, as an example, the opening up of the health privacy laws within Social Security.
Actually, it even came before that. It was the if your doctor asks you about owning firearms and whatnot, and then all of a sudden that can also perhaps prevent you from owning firearms. That's where that comes from, even before the Social Security thing. So are we having an issue with the fact that it doesn't say repeal the Hughes, repeal the NFA?
No.
So it's not going to don't do it, or?
Yeah, no. I'm just making people aware that it's just
and I do agree with
stuff that isn't fancy. It isn't, name brand stuff. It's stuff that needs to be done, but it's not like once he does it, anyone's going to notice that it happened, except for unless you look for it to find out that it ever happened, then you wouldn't know that it was removed. So,
well, part of the problem is he's not a legislature, so he can't technically repeal the Hughes Act. He technically can't, as the president, repeal the NFA. However, since some of those were executive orders and application changes that are being mentioned in this one, that is some things that he can personally do, as opposed to, because again, he can't technically change the Hughes Act or the NFA because he's not Congress. So those are things that he can do himself. Or at least that was my understanding. So I agree with their level of importance is not as great as the Hughes Amendment or the NFA. Or the 68 crime omnibus either. I am 100% in agreement with you on that, G, and that it's not the whole ball of wax by any stretch of the imagination. But if these are some of the things that he can do, I would like him to do so personally. And get that big ball rolling. Get that ball rolling. Like Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, big ball rolling. Like I would like to see that rolling down the street.
Yeah, or have it just imminently there so that everybody's afraid to kick the sticks out from under it.
Yeah, so that they're afraid to take the golden idol off the pedestal. I'm with you on that, dude. Because even a bag of sand didn't work.
So I think we'll go ahead on with the next segment. So we talked a bit about the Hearing Protection Act there, a little bit of an update that it's not going to go anywhere without us being aware of it. So again, part of our point of the show is to inspire and encourage people to get their own content out there. So there are some memes going around. Perhaps we can have people tag us or tag The Daily Show on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, so that we see it in our feeds, and we can help kind of stir up some of the Hearing Protection Act memes, some of the more clever ones that are going around. So we'll head over into good idea, bad idea. Before we do, we like to take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day, talk about one of the members over at Gun Channels, and today we're taking a different approach because what we have we're going to look at one of our Patreons, I guess, and we have a Patreon level, a support level. At the $3 level, you get a patch. We send out a patch randomly to anybody at the $3 level, and since we lost someone at the $3 level last night, we only have one person at the $3 level, so that makes choosing the random person pretty easy. So we sent out an email earlier today and let them know that they are the only one, so they became by default the winner. So we have that patch panel. I guess I can screen share, I think, pretty easily here. I'm on a different browser today. Does that work? Yeah. So we have this patch panel, so that Patreon supporter is going to grab one of the patches off of there. Some of these are completely custom, so it's an opportunity to get some custom ones. And as we have time, we'll build more one-offs for the hosts of The Daily Show, the guests of The Daily Show, and some of the Gun Channels badges or logos like the Mr. Knives or the Flippies and stuff. So thanks to our Patreon supporters, and that was our featured member today. Oops, I guess I should screen share the daily notes. That was our featured member today. Was we were going to do the drawing and try to figure out who the random person was to win that patch, but maybe next month we'll have more people at that $3 level. $3 times 4 per month would come out to about $12. So you're basically getting a chance at a random patch for the $12 a month, and we would appreciate that because that's allows us to take the show on to the next level, whatever that might be. So
Want to go ahead and talk about what might be happening next week, or what is happening next week?
feel free.
Oh, all right. Next week, starting Monday, we're going to take the Daily Gun Show hours and put them to the early evening, depending on where you live. And I think if I have this correct, it's 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific time. This will be the starting time of the Daily Gun Show in the early evening, depending on where you live. So once again, we'll be taking it to 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific time, starting next week, the Daily Gun Show. And I'll be making that announcement periodically for people who don't necessarily catch today's show, so people know what's happening.
Just trying to check out a new time to see if that's any better.
Does that make any difference with the echo then?
Let me say something while you're unmuted.
Oh, all right.
And then a little slight echo. Not bad.
All right, so that's taken us into the good idea, bad idea segment of the show. Today we're talking about gun tattoos. So AK-47 on your face? Question mark. Good idea, bad idea.
He did just get arrested, but as far as gun tattoos, I mean, if you don't care what people think of you in general, then I don't think it matters at all, and it could be a great idea. If you are one of the people that do care how you are perceived, then that's something to be considered. But if you don't care, then it don't matter. So I think that's almost a case to case, or person to person.
And I'm going to throw in an or in there. Or if you're not 110% sure about what you might want to do for a living in the future and want all those options open, you might want to consider holding off. Because some industries are not very fond of tattoos, period, regardless of what they are of. So.
And I personally don't think of them as a bad thing. But I also know that there are other people out there, whether they're bosses or CEOs or potential other clients, if you own your own business or what have you, they may perceive you in a different light because of those things. Now, again, if you don't care what those people think and it doesn't affect your bottom line, well, then, you do whatever you want to do, but you should at least, for 1 second, contemplate the repercussions of your actions.
Right.
Should it matter? No, it should not matter.
Right.
I will definitely stand on that.
But unfortunately, in the real world, it does. We all judge each other within seconds of looking at each other physically. And getting a tattoo changes your physical appearance.
I'm pro gun tattoos. So
now,
just like anything, if you get one on your face, it's one thing, but if you got it where it's your business, then who the hell knows it's even there? So go.
Yeah, exactly. If you can put on a T-shirt and it cannot be seen, go right ahead.
Well, back in the day, you had to put them like where your uniform hit them, and then nobody even knew you had them, and it was your business. And then nowadays, everybody like shove them out where people can see them. So I guess that's where it becomes more of a thing. But I don't have any problem. I've seen plenty of people that got them on their forearms and hands and stuff, guns sticking out or a muzzle or whatever. I think guns are part of our language. They're part of our culture. They're part of our history. They're part of our machines. We wouldn't have interchangeable parts and shit if we didn't. Guns weren't such a part of it. So I don't have a problem with it being on our part of our tattoos also.
Well, as an individual, I certainly don't have a problem with it, but I recognize the reality that there are large parts of society that do have a problem with it. And if I haven't decided for myself what I want to do for a living, or if I want to keep my options open, I need to take that into consideration.
I mean, that's just the reality.
I see. I figure after about the 90s, that's not a thing anymore.
Well, you would be mistaken.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't mean that any one of us wouldn't hire someone because they had a gun tattoo. That's not what we're saying. And I would also say that society is more accepting, air quotes, of tattoos in general. It's not quite the taboo that it used to be.
Oh, no, not at all.
I mean, grandma's got tattoos now. Not just the biker slash stripper slash outlaw type.
Yeah. His grandma
Or Navy guy. Because that used to be one of the things, right? You get a tattoo in every port.
I don't know about that.
And in the
It's maybe of weird traditions, but there's definitely traditional times where you get tattoos, and there's tattoos for other branches. I guess I don't know if you want to call them tradition or not, but because maybe unit traditions. But who's gonna deny a job to somebody with a service tattoo?
Well, they may not necessarily deny them the job, but they may hire somebody else. Because if that is going to be the face of their public persona, that might not be the face they want to put forward.
Or deny them the promotion.
I don't know.
As an example, sales. Sales is something where what you look like and how you present yourself is extremely important. And you will get hired to be in sales based off of those characteristics.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are talking about maybe some specific thing or something and you're counting all things like that, but I would say just looking at it from the big picture and people that I've known over the years and know now, there's tons of people, all kinds of crazy tattoo stuff, either it be whatever origin or whatever type of tattoo culture or whatever. And so many times, especially your advertising or your salespeople are kind of expected to be on the hip, on the trend, on the cutting edge. And I don't think that's that would almost be a characteristic of a hip salesman, is to have some tattoos sticking out once in a while. So
there are industry specific
big picture, I think there's more, or there's much less worry about a tattoo and much less oblivious.
I will definitely disagree, since I see several different industries. You can want it to be that way, and I understand that, and I agree with you on that. That just doesn't make it so.
Yeah. I mean, just because I don't care less doesn't mean I don't know a whole lot of people who do care. And I know a whole lot of people that don't care.
So should it be a bad idea? No. Do I feel that it's a bad idea? I don't feel that it's the best idea. As far as good idea, bad idea, I think you should be able to put on whatever tattoo or piercing or whatever it is that you want to do for you. That should be fine. But you also have to understand that just because you want something doesn't mean that anybody else that is hiring or utilizing you for a job has to agree with you on how you feel about it.
Yeah. There's this crazy thing called corporate America, and that's where it does not fly. Now, if you're in the gear industry, if you're in an artist in the artistic industry, those are two examples of where, yes, it's readily accepted, almost expected to have a tattoo.
You're not operator enough if you don't have a sleeve, right?
Yep.
Well, we definitely oppose this one, but you're going to gang up on me because Bob ain't here. I don't know, am I Canadian? Because I'm thinking he'd be on my side.
You're not a snowflake. You can handle it, dude. Come on.
I will give option B, and that's if it's underneath a T-shirt and cannot be seen. Knock yourself out.
Well, we can always agree if we put enough variables in it. So I think we got 2-1 here for the most part.
One variable.
So is Maggie saying the question should be, is a gun tattoo worse than a butterfly or a skull or any other type? No, of course not. there can be definitely worse ones than a gun. Guns are cool usually.
Yeah.
I will agree with S. Johnson over on the YouTube side, though.
The part where he says right on Z.
You know it.
Yeah.
So Smeggy's got the like revolvers in his waistband thing going, except it's in the back of his waistband, so it's weird.
I don't uncomfortable. I don't need to know about Smeggy's identifying marks.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't talk about his hip tattoos.
Yeah.
I don't need to
That's
know about his lower back from hip to hip.
But that's great for him.
If that's how he self-identifies.
All right, so then I guess we're going to disagree on this one, and then we will go on to the next segment, I suppose. So what should we do next? Do we want to do a shop, or do we want to go into something else?
Let's do the shop, because that was one that we've been fumbling a little bit lately, and it seems like we got one ready to go.
So we got a suggestion for Frontier Armory the other day. We'll talk about that one. It's in Vegas, up on the north. Well, I call it the north side of town. It's out towards that Clark County shooting facility I'm always talking about. And Darren, I think, recommended it. He lives up there. So I haven't been in there, or if I've been in there, it's been a long, long time. But they make their own parts and stuff, so they're getting to be a larger place. Hope to get back up there. Let's see, with Bob coming back into town, if he'll ever contact us before he starts driving around again, it might be possible for us to get up there and do some store tours or something when he picks up his camper. But we try to feature a shop every day, and part of the plan is to get back on the road. Part of the reason we started doing this show is we anticipated being on the road, and that way each day we'd be exploring at least a gun shop every day, if not more, so that we could easily have a new shop featured every day. And that'll still be the goal, and we continue to do that. Of course, we're always looking for collaboration or input from the audience, so if you know of a shop that's got something interesting or unique, remember that you've got a phone in your pocket, and it's got probably a decent camera on it, so ask them if it's okay to take a few pictures. Do that, share them on the whatever social media platform you like, and let us know about it, and we'll be happy to share that as well. Or if you don't want to go through all that, take some pictures and email them to us, dailygunshow@gmail.com. And we'll include your local shop as one of the shops of the day. I think with that, it's a good time to talk about windbreakers, maybe overshoes. It's getting kind of rainy.
Technical issues. Damn it.
Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about galoshes.
Socks.
You know, sometimes these high-fangled electronic gadgets aren't quite as reliable as one would think.
Well,
Check
it's
the
so
starter
much
on it.
better than that last thing that was going on the last few days. So much better than that.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Duck and cover.
That
Look, that he's got handy. That at a moment's
Yeah,
notice.
you got that
he's
on demand.
You know, I gotta say, the fact that it grinds you so just empowers me. All right,
So
it's
Daniel's
time for
going to be the one
tactical.
walking around with that as his theme music because it bugs us. So I don't know who's the real loser here.
Yeah,
Who's the winner? Who's the loser?
yeah. Time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. And so for those of you over on YouTube, get your cursor down into the text box and limber up your fingers and get ready to type. Those lucky of you that have figured out that it's much better to be over on Gun Channels for the tactical pop quiz of the day, amongst many other reasons, go ahead and put your cursor down in the text box and get ready to type. And has my official seen the question and answer? More importantly, the answer, I guess.
Yes, but I will admit that Raphael did win on YouTube just the other day, so it's not impossible.
Yes. It many times it's having the answer, not necessarily the quickness of typing.
Yes, that's
So-
that's true.
I find often having the answer is critical to winning.
I will say already though that the 1911 Colt is wrong, as is Clint Smith is wrong. Just so you know, out there.
Okay. And I appreciate those answers, those psychic answers that somehow didn't quite reach me. All right, so the question for today is, what was the primary rifle used by the American Expeditionary Forces during World War I?
What?
What was the primary rifle used by the American Expeditionary Forces during World War I? And this is an angry American question, so thank you.
And that would be the Great War. The war to end all war.
Yes.
Oh, bang, bang, and boom. Already. Mr. Matt.
Yeah, and the answer is the M1917 Enfield.
So
who's
quick,
our
you
winner?
beat the echo. Matt, over on the Gun Channel side.
Oh, Matt. So, congratulations, Matt. So head on over to dailygunshow.com/pop-quiz. Fill out the form. Make sure you put a first, second, and third choice for your prize in case the other ones have already been taken. And congratulations.
So Matt, you know that makes you the tactical pop quiz hot shot for today. So good job. Way to make it happen. Way to continue the winnings. Winning feels good, don't it?
And being the fisherman that I am, I'm going to go ahead and cast my line out there and ask any of our listeners if you have any questions, answers, and a source of the answer. If you can email that to us at dailygunshow@gmail.com. We're certainly starting to run a little bit low on questions and could certainly use some fresh ones, so we could certainly use your help. So thank you very much. So where do we head from here, boys?
I say we either go to Q&A or gun movie.
All right, let's do Q&A then. So we got a couple of things that came in from email, right?
Yeah, these came in from Steve.
So the first one is in the process of building an AR. So congratulations. Is that a question or there something?
Well, no, the question was yesterday. It was actually a very detailed question. And so, Stephen, I'm going to suggest that you, rather than have us attempt to kind of, I'm going to say half-ass answer the question, to contact Dead Horse over on Gun Channels. He is an extremely knowledgeable person and will be able to get you the closest answer that you're hoping to find out.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
All right.
Let's have the question.
What?
Just saying.
All
yeah,
right,
what's the question?
Let me pull up the question here. I had it pulled up yesterday, but you guys didn't want to do it yesterday. And now I'm not prepared.
So then...
Give me a minute.
So your level of preparedness is our fault. Okay.
So the next one is, how do you clean the Cosmoline off your surplus? Do you treat the wood differently? So hot water usually for me. And then if you got some way to steam, I guess that's handy as well.
And when you're doing the wood like that, the wood's gonna swell, right? Even when you steam it, it's gonna weep the Cosmoline first.
I haven't done wood in forever, but I remember what I used to like to do, and this was before the internet. I just had to figure out something, so I would go get my barbecue going and put water on top, like on some kind of pan, old coffee can or something. Put water in there, so it wasn't quite boiling, but it was hot because there was fire underneath it. And then I would just keep dipping rags into there and wiping off the Cosmoline, and then rinsing them out and wringing them out, I guess, and going through a lot of water, and just the stuff will dissolve in hot water, and you just keep doing that until it quits coming out, and you can touch the wood without it being all gross.
Will Simple Green dry it out?
I don't know why I never usually use that stuff. This was back in the 90s, so I guess there was fewer dollar stores and stuff to buy that kind of crap, so I wasn't buying it at the regular store for $5 a bottle. I was just using hot water.
With the batch of Eastern European mags I got that were fully engrossed in Cosmoline, I can tell you that boiling a magazine for a half hour removed 0 Cosmoline.
Really?
Why? I don't know.
Huh.
but it did absolutely nothing. Whereas sitting in a 3/4 inch aluminum, not aluminum, but tin foil kind of a dollar store pan, 20 minutes sitting in that paintbrush, it just comes right off like it's jelly. But then you have to rinse it off right away and get it dry, because it is metallic and it will rust. Take care of it right away after you get done stripping it.
What did you put soaking in?
Paint thinner, mineral spirits, all that works.
I will say that the difference between paint thinner and mineral spirits, though, is there is a definite difference in level of power, I guess is what I would say.
I'm just saying that they both work. And if you go to a dollar store and get one of those baby bottle brushes to clean the inside of a magazine, as an example, very good for getting inside there. Or you can also use, if you keep your old toothbrushes, because you can also stick that down there inside the magazines to scrape a lot of that cosmoline out. Or if you have a rifle with parts that aren't easily gotten to, that's another nice thing to have, old toothbrushes. But I do have that other question up when you're ready for it from Stephen. You ready for it? I'm going to take your silence as
yes.
You're so stunned you can't stand it anymore. All right, there's 3 questions here. Mr. We can answer these questions, so here it goes. I'm in the process of building an AR. Right now, I'm selecting a buffer. I want to buy a quality buffer, but I don't want to buy one and end up being the wrong one. Is it possible to disassemble a buffer? That's question 1.
No, you don't really disassemble buffers.
And I've never seen anybody disassemble one either.
Right. Now, you can't disassemble the buffer tube.
But that's not the question.
Disassemble the buffer tube,
right.
Also.
Well, I don't know if he just dropped the word off their tube or not. So I just want to make sure it's answered both ways.
Well, you can disassemble anything, I guess. So it's just a cotter pin, but I don't know why you'd want to disassemble. There's nothing to it.
Question number 2. I want to purchase a Spike Tactical ST-T3. I think it's the equivalent to an H4 buffer. I assume the tungsten is in the form of powder. Can I knock it out? Can I knock out one of the roll pins in the buffer to access the tungsten powder?
I think the question should be, why would you feel that you need to do that?
And that I can't answer. This is what's on his page.
I definitely understand. I mean, like G said, you can practically disassemble or break anything you want. Instead of disassembling and taking the tungsten out, just buy something that either doesn't have the tungsten or is weighted more correctly to what it is that you're looking for. The weight of the buffer is going to depend on the length of your gas system. It's going to be caliber specific almost. I mean, there's several identifying factors for choosing the correct buffer.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dead Horse did address this issue, not with that brand, but he did assess the issue in general. He had bought one that had the tungsten powder in it. And then when he got it, for some reason, he said he normally never does this, but for some reason, he shook it, expecting that it would, because it was powder, it would have a certain sound to it, when in fact there was no sound at all. And then he actually opened it up to find out it wasn't powder at all. It was actually a solid piece of material. He contacted the company and got a refund. So, maybe that's why he's just trying to verify that there's powder in there or something. I'm not sure.
Buy from a reputable manufacturer and you get what you pay for. And if you still find that after those 2 first things are met and you still have a problem, if it's a reputable company, it's usually not a problem to return it if there is something wrong.
Okay. And his last question is, what I'm getting at here is, can I tune my cycling and ejection by adjusting the weight in my buffer and only purchase one buffer?
Yes and no. Again, it's going to depend on your length of gas tube, right? It's also going to depend on what type of ammo are you using as well. Those two factors will come. They will change potentially your cyclic rate and or how either under, over, or correctly gassed your system is. If it throws it forward, that means something. If it throws it at 90 degrees, that means something. If it throws it at 45 degrees to your back, that also means something. As usually for gas pressurization and whatnot. And cyclic.
Yeah, typically you're not going to adjust your buffer. You're just going to buy a couple of buffers or have a couple of buffers to choose from and then figure out which one works and then just replace it. You know, if you have a couple of friends out there with different buffer weights, see which one works and then go get that one.
Exactly.
And I know this isn't part of the question. I got around that by utilizing a JP silent capture spring, which the one buffer you can change with weights if you feel like it. So it's still one buffer and you just buy little extra weights. Now, I will tell you right now that JP silent capture spring is not as cheap as buying like two buffers. It is more expensive. But it's been great.
Yeah, we're not getting any other specific questions, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with, I think what we should be telling people is just to talk to Dead Horse because he's an expert on AR-15s and he knows all about these kind of answers to these kind of questions.
Wait a minute. That's what Dano said. Jeez.
I mean, we can give it our best shot, but, you know, if I compare my knowledge to Dead Horse's, he clearly knows a hell of a lot more than I do and has a hell of a lot more experience.
Well, then we refer that as the last answer, not the first answer.
Okay. As well as,
but I will also defer to his knowledge. I'm not trying to say no to that. I will definitely defer to his knowledge on the subject.
As well as, you know, in a chat, he can ask follow-up questions where in an email, we can just have to make certain assumptions that may not necessarily be true when trying to answer the question. So, all right. And those are our email questions from Mr. Johnson.
Dana, where do they send those email questions to?
They send those to dailygunshow@gmail.com. Whether it's questions you have in general, whether it's ideas about the show, or whether it's questions for the tactical pop question of the day, or anything else.
Commentary on Bob's fashion sense?
Yep. dailygunshow@gmail.com.
Smeggy saying it's like one of those home improvement shows when you call in, the guy just tells you to ask somebody else. But that's the whole point, is we're hopefully directing you to somebody who's knowledgeable. So we're diverting to more knowledgeable stuff.
No, in our defense, we did actually answer the questions.
Yes.
Also.
Okay. I'm defending my view.
So that was our Q&A segment. If people want to send in questions, feel free. We just mentioned the email. It's easy to remember. It's our name of our show, dailygunshow@gmail.com. So that'll take us into Gun Movie.
Yes.
So we like to feature a movie every day. The idea is to remind people of a movie they haven't seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', tell you about a movie you haven't seen yet. Today is A Force of One.
Jennifer O'Neill.
What? I don't know this one. I don't think
You don't know this one?
Oh, Chuck Norris.
Yeah. There's lots of rubber gun training. There's lots of Smith & Wesson Model 36. There's a 1911 or two. I think there's a shotgun in it. It's got Superfly. It's got Jennifer O'Neill. It's got Chuck Norris. It's got Clu Gallagher. You're going to recognize a good portion of the people in this movie. Well, at least from 70s, early 80s movies, you'll recognize them. So I guess you kind of have to either have a fondness for those movies or be old enough to have watched them potentially when they came out. Now, why did you pick that one? Yes, Chuck Norris runs a dojo, is a teacher, but he has to bust it up a little bit. And Superfly, like I said, and it also has Wallace, Superfoot. What's his name? Is it Bill Wallace? Superfoot from back in the 70s, the world champion. But anyway, nobody knows what I'm talking about, so it doesn't matter. Dano doesn't even like martial arts movies.
No,
G.
not
Webbs
really.
doesn't like Chuck Norris. I'm like, I'm all here by myself, just going,
Just strolling through the park.
Like, it's a good movie. It's a good Chuck Norris movie.
Oh, I'm muted. So is this the one where he's owns the karate studio or something, and
He
then
owns a dojo.
somebody goes into like a sporting goods store and hides something in like the coat or something, and then some kid is like a kid on the streets and he takes him in? Or am I thinking of a different one?
I think you're thinking of a different one, maybe. 'Cause this is the one where the cops are asking him questions, and then it's got some bad cops. Couple of and maybe not bad cops, but bad folks. Jennifer O'Neill ends up being like his ally in this one, which again, she's a lovely young lady, or certainly was at the time.
Okay, a team of undercover narcotics officers is targeted by a serial killer. The police recruit Chuck Norris. They recruit Chuck Norris to bring an end to the murder. Yeah, I think I've seen this one.
Definitely seen it, and it's another one of his whispers. Not as much as like Good Guys Wear Black. Not as much as where he does the thinking to himself, but it's the whisper echo in his head. Like, this one isn't as bad. Like, also that I think that's in the Octagon. I think is another one where that happens a lot. Like, that's a seminal portion of Chuck Norris movies. But I think at the beginning or whatever, it like shows him either winning the championship or something like that. Like, he has a fight, a sanctioned fight or whatever, so he gets to show himself whooping some ass. And again, I think it's against Bill Superfoot Wallace, and so that's kind of a big deal because I think actually at the time Bill Wallace was probably the champion. So it's one of those.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't want to say it hardly has, and I don't want to say that it hardly has any guns in it, but let's put it like this: the majority of them are that Smith & Wesson Model 36, which is 38 Special Snubby.
Yeah, it's good 70s karate movie, and it's cool because it's a lot of running around the streets of California in the 70s, early 80s.
Yep.
No, I remember this one. It was a pretty good one. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I think I seen it on either Amazon or Netflix.
It might be on Amazon because I think I saw some of the other ones that he had going on right now too.
So I think it's worth watching Chuck Norris movies. If you like binge watching stuff, consider sitting down and watching some Chuck Norris movies in a row. And I would say this is not one of the best ones ever, but if you're watching a series of them, this would be an example of an early one.
I will say it's a better one. I mean, Good Guys Wear Black and Breaker.
Well, that's the thing. If you like old Chuck Norris movies, this one's worth putting in your mix.
Oh, definitely. To me, it's like this one's up there. It's not the same as the Octagon, and it's definitely not Lone Wolf McQuade, but maybe it would be number 3 out of the 3 of them. Maybe number 4. Because I mean, it's kind of that good of a story.
And just a good example of like a weird 70s like cop movie where cops are kind of dumb. And they just
like, why would the cops,
they're like stormtroopers?
Why would bricks for brains? But why would the cops hire a martial artist to help them figure out some stuff? I mean, it's just one of those things where
they were going in and trying to find these drug dealers or something, and then they kept getting their asses kicked. So then they hired them to teach them how to not get their asses kicked all the time.
Okay.
Remember? And then they're like, well, tell you what, you can kick ass so damn good. Why don't you just go finish this off for us? And he's like, all right.
Go handle this, will you, Chuck? So yeah, I'm definitely going to give it 2 thumbs up. I'm definitely going to give it. You should watch it, and for a lot of the same reasons that G did just said though, is like, now granted, if you don't like Chuck Norris movies, this movie ain't going to sway you into liking Chuck Norris movies. I'll tell you that right now. He's going to do the spinning back fist. He's going to do the spinning back kick, roundhouse, and people are going to go down. Now, like, that's what's going to happen. Chuck is going to kick some ass in this movie. Like, that's what's going to happen. So if you can't suspend disbelief or that wouldn't happen that way or whatever, you're not going to enjoy this movie. But if you revel in that kind of stuff, you're going to love it. Love it, I say. And then again, the opinions of Island Sea Survivor do not directly reflect the opinions of Gun Channels or the Daily Gun Show.
And I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity just to remind people the Daily Gun Show hours for next week will be starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Enjoy.
So we're moving the show back 4 hours.
Technically, you're moving it ahead.
Yes. Yeah, moving it ahead 4 hours from whatever time it starts in your area.
Okay. All right, so then we'll dig into the gun history. Today is the Militia Act of 1903, the Dick Act. Did we talk about this one already?
I don't think so.
Yes, but it's the National Guard Act and the ability to federalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it used to be the National Guard was simply controlled by the states that resided in the area.
So yeah, it must happen today back in whatever that is, 1903. And we got a link there to Wikipedia, so I guess we can throw that out there. I don't know if there's much more to talk about it. It's kind of gun related. But what are you saying? It's what made the National Guard federalized?
Well, it's what made, instead of making it just a state guard only, it's what made it truly a National Guard versus a state guard only.
Well, it forced them to organize their units the same as the regular army, and then same readiness requirements and training. So basically, federalized them. Right.
One goes hand in hand with the other.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Kind of liked it when at least I like the concept of having a bunch of different states organize their guards their own way.
Well, it's definitely a force multiplier, unless at some point the government turns in on its citizenry, and then it becomes something else.
But it was also so that if you have the need to grab everybody to defend as a whole, that they have the same level of either training or command structure, so that you're not, so that there's less confusion.
Yeah,
in such a time.
I guess, but when you look at it, it definitely eliminates confusion, but it doesn't eliminate confusion, because you've still got, if nothing else, Marines with their whole weird infrastructure, and then the Navy being weird, their whole like different ranks and everything, and then the Army being normal. So there's always going to be some amount whenever you're mixing them at all. So having Guard and Army be a little bit different, I guess, makes it a little bit easier. But
I've always looked at the equalizer as being the pay structure. You know, you're an E1, you're an O2, you're an E5, and that cuts across all services.
Well, there is going to be a difference between the Guard and the reserves, yeah?
Well, that's the thing. There's almost no difference. When you're in the Army, you can't tell if somebody's Guard or reserve or regular Army, because they're exactly the same as far as everything. And there's not that much difference between Army and Marines. They kind of have the same ranks. They're a little bit different. And the Air Force and the Navy just went crazy and did their own shit for some reason. So you're damn right. They're all E1s and 2s and 3s, but what their little stripes mean, you never know. You have to pay attention and all that.
But as far as, you know, pay grades is kind of the equalizer. It just is a general concept. It's not perfect, but it's the closest thing we have to an equalizer amongst the services.
Well, we're getting off topic though. We're talking about the Guard being
Well, and to me, you just explained, G-Webs, what this act did. How you just said you can't tell hardly the difference between reserve guard and regular army.
Yeah, unless you know what their unit is, then they look the same. Basically, they act the same.
So-
they interact.
So in essence, this act may have brought about that ability.
Oh, I think that's exactly what it was supposed to do. You know, it was probably because in Civil War it was all weird, right? People were running around doing whatever the hell they want. Each unit was its own kind of thing.
Yep.
You had weird French influences, probably making it weird, and then whatever other countries. come
Not
up
during the
with.
Civil War so much with that one.
I don't know. I just know that there's different organization things depending on what their roots are.
That's true.
But I think isn't something about the Dick Act also where we get the shotguns being a weapon of war or not?
Didn't think the shotgun thing came along until World War One, or maybe Spanish American War.
No, I think it had something to do with it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Before that, if a guard unit wanted to have a shotgun or something, they could. I don't know. I might be confusing them. So anyway, that's a little bit of history, and all we try to do is touch on stuff here. We don't try to suggest that we know everything or that we're bringing everything to the table or that we have the time to research everything. I don't even know if we had the time to research, if it would be that fun to research everything necessarily. What we like to do is just touch on some topics to keep conversations going. We talk about gun channels quite a bit. There's conversations happening over there all the time. And what we hope to do with our show is to have a consistent spur, topics. So to throw topics out to the general chats that'll happen. Or if you're creating content and you're looking for something to do a video about, hopefully our show gives you some kernels to grow on. So with that, what else do we have left today? We're going to lose Z here in a little bit. I think we might be able to wrap it all up, though. I think we hit everything.
G, can you see the side chat?
Sure. You do have one, or are you asking?
I'm asking.
All right, so we need a gun of the day, and we started doing this yesterday, I guess. We'll jump over to the YouTube channel, and we'll just grab a video. Anything in particular we should go grab?
There's a rumor that there's like 3,000 of them.
Yeah, and I'm saying, do you have anything specific? I can just type in gun and see what happens. See what the first one that comes up catches somebody's eye. How about this Magpul folding pocket gun?
Okay.
You guys heard of the FMG before?
Heard of it, never seen it.
I've heard of an FMG.
Let me quickly screw with this real quick. Uh-oh, I'm logged into the wrong account. I guess I can't. So I guess I won't screw with it real quick. I was going to try to unstretch it. So we're talking about in 2008, Magpul came out with the FMG9, which is this basically what we're looking at here. It's a Glock frame, goes up inside of this Magpul 3D printed chassis. And since it was a Glock 18 that they shoved in there, it was a full auto folding submachine gun. So this thing, though, is from 2011, a couple of years later, at SHOT Show 2011. Company called KWA, I guess, makes airsoft guns. So they made an airsoft version, and they were calling it the FPG, the folding pocket gun. And it's a airsoft gun, so it shoots a bunch of airsoft BBs out of the mag, and this was a video that Thumbs filmed about it. So I guess that was our gun of the day.
We should link that
Link that over to the videos.
in the externals.
We can do that. So we do try to hit a gun every day. If you've got a suggestion or an idea for one, you can always let us know, and then we will include it into the show.
Always good to include you too. We got a healthy tip, buddy.
We do. And today, trying to remind everybody every day that the most important part of the gun is the part that pulls the trigger. Type at the same time here. Our healthy tip is to feed the machine, not the tongue. So I guess think about it. Just more clinically, I guess. We're feeding ourselves all the time based on taste. At least most of us do. And if we think about it as ourselves as a machine, then you could also just be thinking about it how you would fuel your car or your other machines to make them run efficiently. So I guess thinking about what you're eating as fueling a machine is a way to start being more deliberate about what you put in your mouth. So that's a healthy tip today. I don't know if that's an easy one for everybody or not.
It's tougher for some.
Yeah, it helped me a bit. I try to think of it as as a mix, also like a ratio. You know, you're trying to run an engine. You gotta, at least my little 2-cycle engines I've been dealing with lately. You got to deal with the oil and the fuel, and same thing when you're eating. You can eat based on pleasure and what tastes good and what you feel like, or what you traditionally eat, or what's cheap or what's available. But you can also seek out the raw elements that you need for the machine to work. And I've been doing that for a while, and it's I don't like, I got a bunch of chocolate cake and bacon and stuff for the week there, and it just really, you can tell it screws with the chemistry. So getting back to a more healthy diet or whatever, you can really feel it. So to some extent, I guess that's part of that concept, is to just think about it as science instead of flavor. Be more like RoboCop, just eat some kind of slurry and you'll be good to go.
If I add lettuce and tomato to my bacon, am I then making it healthy?
Healthier for sure, right?
Oh, definitely. So, Dano, how you feeling over there? You feeling ready for the gun channels today?
I am ready to rock and roll. So today, gun channels today. We have Andalusia coming up first. They're always interesting, from Alabama. They're 3 guys that work at a gun store and always interesting to listen to. And then we also have Hit or Miss, which is sometimes hit or miss, as well as Big Gunner 81, which is doing a great job out there. It's kind of a one-man show and doing a great job as well. As well as in the morning, we have Early Watch with Jimmy James, as well as Tony and the Gang. From 9 Eastern to 6 Pacific, depending on your time zone, is when they start. And any other shows tonight that I may have missed?
Well, did I just miss you hear you say Smegs might be doing one shortly? And Jimmy James is every day?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was or not. I put that question out there.
Yeah, and I think he answered it on one, and I reiterated it on the other.
Yeah, he's going to drive home and then start up a lobby. So thanks, Maggie, for doing that. Next week, though, we're going to be going live at a different time. So it'll be 3 hours later at whatever. What will we say, 7?
Right.
Something like that. I think it's 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific, I believe.
Yep.
Correct. And it is in the show notes, and I thought I'd repeat it in the show notes just as ease of reference, rather than have to reinvent it each day.
Which would also be 2 Hawaiian Standard Time, if anybody out there is wondering.
Do you want me to put that in there?
No, I know what time it is.
Oh,
They're
okay.
used to doing their math.
Pretty much.
All right,
Well, I figured you always did your math off of whatever Pacific time was.
It changes.
So it seems like
Well, yeah.
our show is definitely a lot more tidy without the Bob presence. He's definitely
but
missed.
we didn't have too many questions for the Q&A. The good idea, bad idea was pretty fast. For the Second Amendment, we didn't have a whole lot to update on the Human Protection Act, and not a lot of stuff happened overnight. So, I mean,
True.
I agree that we kept it running pretty tight today. I don't necessarily know that because there was no Bob. I don't know that I want to say that.
Well, but I'm just saying, as absence is missed, so hopefully he'll be back here.
Yes.
Let's see, this is our last show of January. So while our Patreon thing isn't monthly, we do on the end of the month, like we will be doing the drawing for the random patch. Like say this month we had only one person to draw randomly from, so he's already picked one of our logo patches, so that'll be going out in the mail today for him. Thank you for being a supporter of the show, and thanks to all our Patreon supporters. We do have no real sponsors or anything for the show at this point. So it's your support that keeps the podcasting going. And thanks to the people that watch us live. The new transition over to the new YouTube channel. We do appreciate the people that followed us over and continue to watch us live.
New channel, new time coming at you.
Anything else that we want to mention since it's the last day of January?
I just put a little note on the side chat there.
Sounds good. So
Yep.
I guess that'll be the end of episode 237 then. We will see you back at the same time for the rest of this week. And then next week we'll be starting that new later time as a new time slot.
All right. We always like to end the show with a quote. Today I have one. He's an author of The Weapons Shop of Isher. And I'm sure I'm going to slaughter the enunciation of his name, but I'll give it a shot anyway. A.E. Van Vogt. And the quote is, "The right way to buy weapons is the right way to be free." And with that, I want to thank you for listening, and please be prepared.
Actually, that's the right to buy weapons is the right to be free.
And corrections will be tomorrow. Thank you.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.